This is my question, sir. If ever you become a future president of the Philippines, how would you correct the revisionist version of the martial law?
I suppose this comes from the speculation that we hear about what is happening in 2016. And I am being named as one possible candidate. Just to clarify that decision has not yet been made, not by me, because it's simply too early. Now, to get to your question, what would you do to correct the revisionist version of martial law? Easy. Simply tell the truth. That is all. Again, when you hear the accounts of let's say martial law, you will not find anything that will say that any good came out of it, because, as I said, the victors tell the history, write the history. And it is my father's government that fell. It was my father's government that instituted martial law, that it was he who declared martial law. And therefore, the opposing forces that eventually succeeded, because it was his government that fell, they are writing the history. But unfortunately, again, the revisionism has taken on that political tone. And it is unfair to everybody, to our people, to its students, to our country, that we do not know what actually happened. And that is why. Now, the thing is that the historical record is there. It's there, it is available for anyone to study. And never mind the different analyses about the pros and cons of martial law, my father's administration, but look at the facts. Look at what happened, where it happened, how it happened. Those incontrovertible facts will bring us to the true account of that part of our history. Again, it is still the search for the truth, and the best weapon you have against these revisionist tendencies is the truth.
It was your father, Mr. Senator, who initiated the campaign in driving the Americans out of the Philippines. Mr. Senator, are you in favor of allowing the Americans to return and finally establish the semi-permanent military bases or installations in the Philippines?
He wanted to preserve the sovereignty of the Republic of the Philippines. When you talk about driving the Americans out, the bases in Subic and in Clark, which were, at the time, when it was at their height, they were the biggest bases. Clark was the biggest Air Force base of the Americans anywhere in the world outside of the United States. Subic was the same thing, aside from, siguro Hawaii is probably their biggest base. But it was the Subic, which was the one that they used for their war in Vietnam. And when the time came, what my father insisted upon was not that the Americans go away, but that the Americans recognize that those bases are Filipino bases. That the base commander is a Filipino officer. That the flag that flies over Subic and Clark is the Philippine flag, not the American flag. That is what he did. And that is what, I suppose, began siguro yung tampo ng Amerikano sa aking ama. Dahil dyan nagsimula. The other big element was when he decided that what was called then the parity law should no longer apply. The parity law gave Americans the same rights in the Philippines as Filipino citizens. Hindi naman tama yun. Dahil hindi naman sila Pilipino. Dapat inuna natin ang ating mga kapwa Pilipino. Kaya yan ay pinilit niya. Sabi nila, hindi. Mga Amerikano kayo, meron kayong mga karapatan, pero hindi pareho sa mga karapatan ng aming kapwa Pilipino. Lalo na dito sa Pilipinas. So you see, there's a consistency there in that he was trying to preserve the sovereignty of the Philippines and to preserve us as a people, and not to be a second-class citizen, which is the leftover, the hangover from the colonial times that we went through with the Spanish and the Americans.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Teo Miguel Ballesteros, political science student. Credits to Sir Nopales. Mr. Senator, It is an open book to you that some sectors are blaming the death of Ninoy to your father. However, history is starting to educate us that your father instead should be venerated for guiding our people to democratic policies, economic development, and cultural development. My question is, given the chance, are you willing to accept any executive position? Presidency maybe. I know this will serve as a redemption to your father.
Your success, for example, when I was elected senator, that connection has always been lost to me. Because if my father was a good president and I'm a bad senator, he's still a good president. On the other hand, if my father was a bad president and I'm a genius, brilliant senator, he's still a bad president. What I do will not change. Again, we were talking about history. So that will not change. And I don't think my father needs me to defend him. I think his record stands by itself, and his record stands by itself.
Good afternoon, Senator. This is my question. Some believe that your father was one of the greatest leaders this country has ever had because of his goals in globalization. Taking into account history, what are the things you would propose that we do to further the growth of our country?
I think we have the capability to do anything. I mean, I've seen, you know, I don't know if you remember, there was a term, the Asian Tigers, in the past. The rise of the Asian economies was driven by Filipino management. The upper management at the time, and Filipino and middle management, was Filipino. Kaya kung titignan mo kung kakayahan, ay talagang nasa atin ang kakayahan. We are importing rice from Vietnam, from Thailand. Where did those agronomists study? UPLV. Sa IRA. Nag-aral, saan sila nag-aral? Ilang beses ako yung mga kaibigan ko. Sabi nila, kung nakaraan kami sumusunod-sunod lang sa Pilipinas. Tapos ngayon, nakalampas na kami sa inyo. Anong nangyari sa inyo? And that is one of the downsides of our OFW migration, the brain drain, yung ating mga magagaling, the well-trained, our engineers, our skilled workers are all going to find, because we cannot blame them, because we cannot give them jobs here. So, in terms of capability, I think the Filipino has proven himself over and over and over again. And I have seen it personally, because I've traveled widely, and I see Filipinos in different countries, and they do very, very well. If all the Filipino nurses and all the Filipino doctors left the United States, their entire healthcare system would collapse. There would be no healthcare system in the United States. Dahil ang nagpapatakbo niyan, puro mga nurse na Pinay, puro mga doktor na Filipino. But the downside of that is that we are losing all our best nurses and all our best doctors. But that's a whole other problem that we have to address. But in any case, as I said, in terms of capability, in terms of resourcefulness, in terms of ingenuity, in terms of industry, walang tatalo sa Pilipino. Wala akong nakikita mas magaling sa Pilipino. Sa buong buwan,
Good afternoon, Senator Bong Marcos. I'm Roxy Alibo, first year psychology. Yeah. Anyway, I'm a psychologist student. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, here's my question. I just need clarifications of, I'm just taking a basis of your speech.
all right.
You said that we can't really adapt another nation's history. So what about if we also engage ourselves to learning another nation's mistakes and consider the good points which made them progressive for the Philippines' future development?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the same as the different community officers of that LGU will go and visit the other another LGU. And why do they do that? To study best practices. What has succeeded? What they have tried that maybe we haven't tried yet. That's exactly what you're saying, and that is exactly correct. We must learn from the successes of other countries. But we cannot say, we should not try to be, if mga Pilipino tayo, we should not try to be American. We should not try to be Japanese. Because we are not. Because we do not have the shared consciousness, we do not have the same culture, and we do not have the same history. And that's what the point that I was trying to make. But of course, we can learn many, many, many things from the experience of other countries. In the same manner, they can learn many, many things from our experience.